Coming to you live from the island of the Lotus Eaters, it's this week's Apocalypse. I am your co-host, Kevin Lenihan. With me, as always, in animated glory, is John Ferris.
Dinomation, I'll have you know.
Sorry, what kind of mation?
Dinomation?
Is that animation by dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Is that? I didn't think they had thumbs.
I know it was the term that they had to come up with so that adults would go see their films.
Oh, because they didn't want to call it like claymation. Or...
Well, I don't think they came up with the term claymation at that point.
This is what. How far back are we going here now?
Like,
Again,
you're talking 50s. I think.
We are under siege on the island of the Lotus Eaters by animated Ray Harryhausen style nightmares. Special Effects Maestro. Yeah. We call him the Maestro.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm sure he's been called that before by a million people, but I'm going to say it now. I'm going to continue with the horror and just say he's a Special Effects Maestro, Ray Harryhausen. Yes, so beset on all sides by the mythical creatures, John, is what we are. So the dinomated, would we say they were dinomated then, if it's dynamation?
It must be.
Is it why?
Because it was basically when critics...
Dinosaur?
Dynamic. Definitely.
Okay.
Because critics were always saying it was animated, the studios were like, well, no, we don't want to put money in this because adults won't go to see an animation because they think it's a cartoon. So then they're like, right, we're calling it Dynamation.
Oh my gosh. So it's
literally just a marketing thing.
Yeah, a bunch of marketing bullshit. Okay, cool. Well, anyway... I'd say that, we need help. We're really just here to appreciate Ray Harryhausen, I guess, and the cool stuff that he did.
The groundbreaking stuff that he did.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, and really impressive. At times very impressive. At times his work is much more impressive than the other filmmaking that is on display generally. Because they aren't all directed by him, so we should just maybe go over these here and talk about them here. So our films are 3 movies that we have. We're starting off with Jason and the Argonauts, the famous Jason and the Argonauts from 1963, directed by Don Chaffey. So we're going to do our little... the summaries for these are quite short because, they had to get the log lines down to fit on, I don't know, tiny posters in the 50s. I don't know, the 60s. So the legendary Greek hero leads a team of intrepid adventurers on a perilous quest for the legendary Golden Fleece.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's yes. It's Big Jason and the Big Argonauts.
Jason, right?
Big Jason and the Big Argonauts
Big
from
J.
1963. Then from 1977 we have Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, directed by Sam Wanamaker. Now, our little line for that. Sinbad the sailor sails to deliver a cursed prince to a dangerous island in the face of a deadly opposition from a powerful witch.
Yep.
Ooh.
Leaving out a hell of a lot.
That's very scant on... Yeah, well, you know what? Again, they probably had to fit this in a very specific small space.
And you know what? I kind of prefer that, though. Like, especially these days, movies have a tendency to show too much.
Yeah, like sometimes you watch a trailer and you're sitting there for in excess of 4 minutes, which... is insane. Sometimes, you know what annoys me, John? And I haven't even got to talking about the third film's logline yet. But the thing that makes me crazy now, and this is, I sound like such a grumpy old man. But
yeah, continue. I bet you I agree.
At the beginning of trailers now, there's a tiny, like 3-4 second trailer telling you that it's a trailer for, it's like a trailer for the trailer. At the start of all the trailers now.
Yep.
They're like, get ready for this Spider-Man trailer. And you're like, but I went to find this.
I've already clicked. You don't have to sell it anymore.
Yeah. Everyone who's here surely is here to see the trailer, right? No?
Maybe not.
Yeah. Anyway, from 1981 then, we have Clash of the Titans.
Ooh.
Directed by Desmond Davis, and this is the shortest logline of all. Perseus must battle Medusa and the Kraken to save the Princess Andromeda.
Yeah, that's someone didn't care. Someone just...
The end. Yeah. The copy guy at the studio was just like, It's a bad day today, and this has to go out. So here's two characters' names and two monsters. Done. Right, away you go. Cool. Right. So in a not.
Oh, what was that?
Again.
Did your brain just break?
My brain just broke, John.
Oh.
So we better just push on.
Yep.
And watch these movies. Well, John, you'd think like things that are, dino-mated wouldn't be. Do you think they'd be more difficult to fight because of their incorporeal nature, or do you think because they're made out of like crappy sort of modeling clay, they'd be easier to defeat?
I think also that there's the element of like there's a kind of weird jerky nature to their movement that they're harder to read.
Yeah,
I find that
you don't know what they're about to do. They're unpredictable.
Yeah, I think I would have trouble with that. Be like, it's like the frame rate's really bad in that skeleton.
Yeah, but sometimes the frame rate's really good on the skeleton. Every now and then the frame rate's really good on this thing, but it's really bad on this thing. Also, John, where do you stab a skeleton? Because,
well, there at one point,
carefully place the knife.
In this movie, like, I think swinging to decapitate is maybe the way forward.
Yeah, so just placing your sword between two of the ribs, that wouldn't be effective, do you don't think?
Probably not, unless you angled it to break the ribs and.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know, but John, is that what they did in Jason and the Argonauts, John?
Well, yes.
They did that sometimes.
Sometimes
but it wasn't all skeletons.
They definitely decapitated the skeletons a couple of times.
Indeed, John. What did you think as a whole of the film Jason and the Argonauts?
I really like it. Like, I mean, it's going to be a problem with all three of these films where a lot of the acting's a bit spotty.
Some of it's incredibly ropey. Like that's just yeah.
I mean, part of the charm in these movies is that as well. Like they're not as polished as maybe action movies of today. They're almost like B movies in that way. You could very much see the likes of Riff Tracks or like Mystery Science Theater, like picking these movies apart. I don't know if they have, but they do similar ones that unfortunately didn't have the let's call it the crutch of Harryhausen and his spectacular, amazing effects and the talent on display, in particular in this movie of his effects is incredible. There's one scene with harpies that are terrorizing this blind guy.
They're so cool.
Yeah, not only are they cool, but did you notice the bit where they take his belt? He has a bit of claw.
They pull it off him. Yeah, they rip it off and pull it up into the air with them. Yeah,
I was amazed. It was like when we watched Roger Rabbit, we were saying how well they managed to make it look like these characters were in the same world, and that it's a direct link to these movies that Harryhausen made because he was doing it back in when was this? 63 was this?
63. This came out. Yeah.
The stuff he's doing in this and the character that he puts into each individual monster, say, or beast or whatever he's doing, dynamation. It's incredibly all feel unique. The giant statue.
That might be my favorite thing. I have a couple of as far as like all the Harryhausen monsters go. That's the one from I saw this film. I saw all three of these films when I was a kid.
Yeah.
For a few times. So it was very strange going back to them because I haven't seen any of them in a long time. But that's the one I remember. I think that there's two. I mean, I remember that. I remember the harpies really clearly. And I actually remember Medusa from Clash of the Titans really well as well. That was another one that was always stuck in my head. But yeah, the statue of Talos or as they call him, Talos. That whole sequence, I remember I used to think was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to think that was really frightening because he was so big, and it was like, I look at it now and I think, yeah, well, obviously, I know that's a big dynamation.
Just call it claymation. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I know it's a big claymation dude thing stomping around, and it's probably actually only about 7 or 8 inches tall, really.
Yeah.
But it's really, really cool, and like the way they all panic and run away from it. There's one guy in particular who's like runs away, and he seems really terrified, and he's like trying to climb up on fucking rock face to get away from it and everything, and it's kind of fucked up. And I'm like, no wonder I was scared of this fucking thing when I was a kid. Jesus Christ. But like,
there's a wee moment where like it switches the sword, it switches hands, and it did, like, that didn't need to be added, but it's like wee expressive things like this that Harryhausen added into each individual creation. It does add so much, where you kind of see it calculating, right? Who am I going to stomp here? Who am I going to kill?
It gives it a wee bit of character. You
Definitely.
You kind of think like, oh, this thing's having a think.
Yeah.
This thing's like, what am I going to do next? Well, I'm sure it'll be something horrifying.
And when they do defeat it, because it doesn't talk and it doesn't even scream, it makes these kind of like almost like metal noises, being manipulated.
Like, it is like bending metal.
Yes, yeah.
Like a bridge under strain in a storm is what it sounds like a wee bit.
But he also animates it. It's like clutching at its throat, and it's just really impressive how even that goes about. The choices that he makes as an artist, because that's what he is. Like really do help sell that this thing is alive, even though it's not. And in fact, I watched a documentary on Ray Harryhausen and his kind of how basically special effects nowadays, like anyone who's worth their salt has watched him and learned from him.
Yeah.
And even to the point where at some point they were saying that we have taken how dinosaurs move from him.
Yeah, that's how we think.
Yeah, I don't know,
because when they came to do Jurassic Park, they were like, yeah, it's like there's some bits of Jurassic Park you look at and you think, yeah, that's a fucking Ray Harryhausen like vista there, that like this wide shot of these things going at each other. Like, I think mainly for me, I think you had mentioned to me before this about something Steven Spielberg talking about himself ripping off some Ray Harryhausen. You didn't say what scene it was, but I always thought the bit in Jurassic Park, which is actually the bit I don't like in Jurassic Park, but not because it doesn't look cool, just because plot wise I hate it. It's like the end when the T-Rex comes through the wall. And that kind of ruins it. But that look, whenever it's the T-Rex is fighting the raptors, it's like it's swinging its head around and it grabs one in its jaws and throws it, and you're like, that is so fucking Ray Harryhausen right there. It's fucking gorgeous.
I can't remember if it was Spielberg or one of the people who did the effects on the movie. They actually say in this documentary that it I think it's actually a scene where the T-Rex eats the lawyer. And they said,
when he's sitting in the toilet.
Because Harryhausen always tried to put in a scene where, a creature would eat a person, and then you have a wee claymation person like swinging their arms. And it's always really, awesome.
In this one, you've got that with I can't remember the character's name, but it's like the Hydra.
Yes,
thing has grabbed the guy, and it comes out of the cave, and it's holding him in its like weird tail, and he's like, and he's flailing like a wee weirdo. Yeah, that shit there is extremely fun. Yeah, and if you let yourself go with it, you can kind of suspend your disbelief.
Well, actually, I kind of got sidetracked with other stuff that happened in the documentary, but I was going to say that Ray Harryhausen himself actually says that he never tried to make it look real, because that's impossible with this type of thing. the way he looked at it was, it's almost like it's like a nightmare or a dream. Like the things seem real and the situation seems real, but even though your brain knows it's not and all that, but there is some element of it or some imagination is all you need, and you can get swept away in the story and the spectacle of it, and it's incredible. Like, whereas today, like, CG is so good that it's kind of ruined us in a way that you almost sit there and you go, oh, it doesn't look real, and you don't let yourself get taken with it. I find a lot of the time where it's like it's more of a technical thing, and I suppose you can't really judge the two of them together. They are very different arts in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's probably is a solid sort of connective tissue between them in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
but yeah, when it comes down to it, like there's something just so great about the skeleton fight in this film that
it is
any number of the Avengers destroying New York can't compete with.
Yeah.
Me. You know, it's like there's a lot going on there in that scene in the Avengers specifically, where there's like and I'm using big air quotes here, where it's like one shot. Now it is all CG, so you know the extent to which it is one shot is questionable.
Yeah,
but there is sort of a bit in that I remember thinking at the time, this is really cool when it was going through the city, but I felt way more enamored of the dudes fighting the animated skeletons in this than I did for any of that stuff. Because like, I mean, you can see the seams and that's fine, you know. Because like, there's bits where people are swinging and it looks a bit gammy, but there's parts where they're having sword fights with skeletons, and you're like, that is so well choreographed.
Yeah,
and it kind of looks awesome. And the way the skeletons move adds to it.
Yeah.
Because it makes them more scary. Because like, and a lot of the times the animation can be, sometimes it's a little herky jerky, but every now and then it's super smooth, and that makes it really even creepier. Because you're like, you can almost think, this thing could be real. This nightmarish, horrible thing could be real. And the way they go through that whole fight, they're clashing and people are getting stabbed and thrown off things. And there's a bit where exciting. There's a bit where a guy like braces his shield against one and then falls back and kicks up with his foot and kicks it over his head and throws it off the side. And you're like, that's fucking awesome.
There's a tiny wee moment in that where, and this is actually, I'd mentioned before about on YouTube there's guys called the Corridor Crew, and they're CG artists guys. It's very interesting stuff, or I find it interesting anyway, but they actually looked at the skeleton fight scene. They had a guest on and they were looking at this and kind of breaking it down. Very impressed by it, especially considering the time that it was made in the 60s. But there was one wee point where one of the skeletons kind of runs and stops, but the momentum shift in the skeleton kind of is communicated with the way it's animated, and they were blown over by it. And it was just that as soon as someone points it out, you go, yeah, like I wouldn't have known to do that, because you have to remember this is one man doing it, and he is doing one frame, and then taking the picture, another frame, taking the picture. All day, he could get maybe 4 or 5 seconds done in a good, on a good day. So really slow process, and for you to always be thinking of things like that, and there's a bit where one of the skeletons jumps over one of the dead bodies, and I think that was in the documentary they actually mentioned that, whereas anyone else would have just had it step on the body to make it easier. It's he had to get the wires out and suspend the skeleton in midair and things like that, and you're going, damn, he really did care, and he really did have this he really did want to make it special. It wasn't just fuck it, I'll just this takes so long and it's so laborious, I just want to get it done. He wanted to make every wee moment means something, and I think he pulls it off.
Everything's special.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes over that way as well.
Definitely.
I mean, again, like I said, that whole skeleton fight is incredible. That Talos battle against the giant Talos statue is like, that's burned into my brain when I was a kid.
I love even that like, as soon as like it's a good message in this, and like the overall story in this one, I think, is one of the stronger movies.
Like the actual narrative itself.
Yeah, like, because I find that, well, the kind of real Greek myth of Jason's a bit of a ball bag, but in this he kind of thinks for himself, and he kind of, you know, gets things done. He's granted like these 3 favors from Hera, but he uses them really quickly, and then that's him. You're on your own, mate.
Yeah.
Apart from like a few wee moments of like, you know, he's given the random idol thing that calls up Neptune.
Yeah, that feels like a cheat to me. That feels like a storytelling cheat.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh yeah, you use up all your favors, but here's a wee extra one for you. It's to be like, it's Poseidon or whatever. He throws it into the water, and then Poseidon comes up and is like, I'll hold.
Oh, sorry, I went for the Roman version. I went Neptune there. I was like,
Neptune, I assume that, yes. I don't think they say it, but I assumed it was Poseidon.
Yeah.
Because they're all Greeks.
Yes, exactly.
And he was wearing his little crown when he came out of the water. So it was like, yeah, it's Poseidon right there. He wasn't wielding a trident or anything, but he was definitely a giant merman.
Yeah.
In a crown.
But,
and that bit's really cool. I love that guy, because that guy looks really like nonplussed the whole time. He's like, ugh. Well, whatever, another one of these.
Well, to be fair, for Poseidon, that's just, you know, your average Tuesday. It's like, hold the mountain.
What kind of fucking hero are you that you need me to come up and save you? Fucking hell. Ugh.
And like, you know, like, and there's good messages in it in that sense of, you know, the only reason Talos even attacks them is because, and they were well warned, is don't.
Fucking Hercules is a fucking tea leaf.
Yeah, because he's a dick.
Aye.
And he gets his mate killed, and you know, so
and then he's all, but it is your fault.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's like wee moments like that where like I appreciate them, you know, because it's that kind of like classic hero story, which I can forgive. Like nowadays, if I seen it, the cynical part of me is like, ugh, I've heard all this before, and I could write this story myself. But I mean, back then this was very new. This is, you know, the Greek myths weren't presented like this before, where you could have giants and weird creatures and hydras and things like that attacking. But no, I really enjoy this one. I really think it.
Yeah, I think this film's kind of great.
Yeah.
In a special effects way, and it just like, I think it just sets a really good tone and sticks to it.
Yeah.
And it does have that haha, I'm a hero attitude, but all of these films have that. And it is a solid part of the charm.
Yeah.
Of just, I am the perfect hero, and I'm not tempted by anything, but sometimes my companions are.
Yep.
And that's why we suffer, not because of me. I do like a nice flawed hero, but it's also nice sometimes to just have this ludicrous, unbelievable, perfect person who's like, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry, I'm here.
But I think
if people didn't like that, you wouldn't have Superman.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. But I think that like the reason it works in these movies, like you can forgive it because this is one of the first to really. Well, there was other movies that had heroes, but for this, like what would you call it? Like heavy special effects laden, like you know, what we would count as a blockbuster. I don't know how well this did actually. I'm sure it did. I hope it did well. But you know, this is really like the precursor to the likes of the Avengers that you mentioned earlier, and movies like that. You know, they owe so much to the fact that these movies are beloved and went for, like, I mean, even when you look at Greek myths, they're basically superhero stories.
They are superhero stories. I mean, a lot of the earliest stories are.
Yeah.
You go all the way back to Gilgamesh, which is like the first known proper like narrative literary story that was ever written that we know about.
Yeah.
And that's about a guy who's like a half god going on an adventure across the land and defeating monsters and helping people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a tale as old as time. You know? It's a little bit of Miss Potts for you there.
It's lovely.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was dino-mated as well. Pretty cool Maggie Smith teapot or whatever. Not Maggie Smith. That's nonsense. That's what I call her. Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Maggie Smith's in it later.
Maggie Smith. I got Maggie Smith on the brain because of
I can't remember Jessica Fletcher's real name.
That's wild.
Angela Lansbury. Is that?
Angela Lansbury. Yeah. Yes. And on that note, John, let's stop talking about Jason and the Argonauts.
Angela Lansbury and the Argonauts.
No. Well, John, it was a nice day at the beach. And then...
Ooh.
I don't know. And then... automatons, John.
Oh.
Animated automatons. Oh, they're so annoying. They're noisy, and they buy ice cream, but then they can't eat the ice cream.
Yeah.
So, because they don't have, like, digestive systems. So they just sort of lick it, and it falls on the ground, and now there's seagulls, and there's they're flying around on their jet skis.
Sometimes
skidoos.
they just kind of look in your direction. You're like, are you looking at me, through me, behind me, near me? What are you looking at?
Yeah, where's your brass eyes are just so horrifying.
Yeah.
And speaking of big monsters with brass eyes, John,
Ooh.
what did you think of? Well, let's talk about Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. So again, the log line for this is quite short. So it's just Sinbad the sailor sails to deliver a cursed prince to a dangerous island in the face of deadly opposition from a powerful witch.
Powerful.
She's powerful,
She's
John,
powerful.
this witch. She's going to get you. Starring Patrick Wayne and a young Jane Seymour, Dr. Quinn medicine woman.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very young. Yeah, she's. Jeez, she looks like about 16 or something.
Yeah. And Patrick Wayne, son of John Wayne,
Oh, right.
inherited his father's acting talent.
Yeah, which is 0.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
This is some real. There's a lot of real fun reading off a card acting in this movie, and most of it's from him.
Yeah.
And
I kind of, again, we had kind of mentioned before that it's part of the charm. Like I really I really enjoy this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because the acting's so bad, because you can sit and laugh at those bits, and then the action scenes and the spectacle part of it, which is the Harryhausen part, which is really why we're here. I think it has some amazing scenes in this one in particular. Like the Kali statue really stands out as something that, or is that in this one or the other one actually? Because I watched all three.
I don't think no. I don't think that's You watched a lot of Sinbad.
Oh, sorry. Yes, because I watched the Seventh Voyage and the Golden Voyage. Sorry, the Kali statue is in the Golden Voyage. So forget I said that. This one's the saber-toothed tiger.
This one has a saber-toothed tiger. It has a Minotaur.
Oh yes,
which is a portmanteau of Minotaur and automaton, I believe.
Yeah.
And it also has a saber-toothed tiger. It has a bunch of wee demons that come out of a fire as well.
That's right, yeah.
And it also has a baboon.
Yes,
that
the baboon's
is
great.
a central character in the film because the prince has been transformed into said baboon.
Which is an improvement in my eyes.
Well, possibly. I don't know. You don't really get a taste of that guy really at all as a character.
You're informed of how great he is, which is always a bit annoying.
Yeah, it's a bad way to teach you about a character is having people say things about them and how great they
Especially
are.
when it's really vague. It's like, no, he's a great noble man. It's like, yeah, what does he do?
Like, yeah, what does that mean exactly?
Is it just because he's a prince? Because you can go fuck yourself?
Oh, John. Oh, you're such a wee proletariat fucking rabble-rouser.
They're going to say the same thing about Prince Andrew.
Oh.
A fucking baboon. A baboon would be an improvement.
Oh, let's keep it light, shall we, eh?
Yeah.
Let's talk about animated monsters, John.
Yeah, they're a lot easier to deal with.
They're a lot more fun to deal with.
I think I will say that this I think I prefer the Golden Voyage to this one. I can't remember.
Yeah, like I'm gonna say Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. It's one I remember because I saw it a lot. There is some very, very, very cool stuff that comes up in it.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly I like the Minotaur automaton.
Yes.
And I do like the tiger.
Yeah, the tiger moves incredible, and he studied tigers and lions to try and get a lot of the movements to look real, and it does look incredible.
Yeah, it looks very, very cool. And the baboon looks alright sometimes as well.
I think the baboon's great.
There is a very funny part where the baboon is attacking somebody, and instead of using an animated baboon, they have, I guess, a stuffed sort of toy or something that he rolls down some steps in, and that looks bad. But we can't blame Ray Harryhausen for that. I'll say that Ray Harryhausen's work in this movie is fucking spectacular.
Yeah.
As it has been in probably all three of these movies, I'd say he's consistently great.
Yeah.
There is a fight reminiscent of the skeleton fight in Jason and the Argonauts. In this, there is the fight with I don't know what they are. They don't say what they are, but the witch lady conjures up three creatures.
Yes. Yeah, they're kind of alien
fire.
looking.
Yeah, they kind of look like Mac and Me from the awful movie Mac and Me.
They do,
the
actually.
McDonald's movie.
I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah, they look like evil versions of that, and that thing already looks kind of fucking evil, if I'm honest. So yeah, there's the fight with them's kind of fun. They don't even beat those things though; they just run away.
Yeah.
They get away from them and then get on a boat and leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta say that if we're gonna just review this as a movie, Patrick Wayne is atrocious.
Terrible. And also,
he's one of the worst actors in any of these films. He's probably the bottom of the pile. Like, some people are right. Jane Seymour's all right. Patrick Troughton is in this movie, who was the forgotten Doctor Who.
Oh yes.
But only not because he was bad. A lot of people who are old enough to remember him being Doctor Who think of him as being the best Doctor Who. But there was a fire at the BBC at some point in I think in the late 60s.
And they blamed him.
And yes, they blamed him and he was shamed and cast out. No, nearly every episode that he was in was destroyed.
Oh.
So people in the modern era don't know much of him in that role.
Okay.
But people like him in that. He's a very good actor. He plays the Owl Man, who is father to Jane Seymour, I don't know. He seems quite old to be her dad. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who her mother. I don't know if they mentioned her mother, but anyway, that whole sequence is weird. There's a lot of pacing problems in this movie.
Yeah.
But they just have extended sequences of people running about the place, looking about and going, "Arr!" Like that whole scene where they go to meet him. Because he's the wise guy with a key or whatever.
He's the wise guy.
He's a wise guy. He's a wise guy and he's got a key. That's, that bit, it kind of goes on forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it isn't great, but I do like moments of it, and I like this idea that normally when you have these movies about the hero, the villain has the upper hand in it. Through most of it.
She's a fucking bumbler,
In this, the villains are fucking rubbish. Maybe until the end, but then they're dealt with fairly swiftly. But she's trying to catch up.
Yeah, she's trying to catch up. The only reason that they do catch up is that Sinbad's ship is too big to go through the shortcut, and they have a shitty little brass spiky ship that can go through the shortcut. And that bit was confusing to me because I felt like they were setting up some kind of like penalty for going through the shortcut.
Yeah, and there was.
But then there isn't one.
It's
it's fine.
Sinbad was too shitty to go into it, and that's it.
He was just like, no, we won't go in there. Okay. Thanks for that great delivery there, Pat. So yeah, ultimately, she's fun. I like her. I like the villain.
Yeah.
The witch, she's kind of great.
She is chewing the scenery, and it's fantastic.
She is ripping that place up.
And the cheesy effects that they do, and like the close-ups of her eyes, it's not good filmmaking, but it's fucking hilarious.
When they go all like snake eye, yeah, it's fucking class.
Again, it's that kind of like enjoying it in an ironic way or something like that. You know, it's you're enjoying the movie despite itself.
Indeed, yeah. There's some really daft looking monsters in this, but they're still kind of cool. Like the thing, what do you call it? Is it the Trog?
Yes,
Troggle or Trog? I think it's just the Trog, I think they call it. Which is fun. It's a big stupid thing. It's just a plot MacGuffin. It's just there to go with them and then fight the tiger when the tiger happens. You know, like Ray Harryhausen probably had this idea of, I want something to wrestle a tiger.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, well, I gotta make a monster then to wrestle a tiger that looks vaguely human, but is also definitely not, because it's got a horn. Yeah. Because like the other two movies are based on like Greek myths.
Yes.
Whereas this is just like made up whole cloth. As far as I know, like all the Sinbad movies
the
were made to
Sinbad
be movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, like, I would recommend. It's got a lot of the similar problems. You know, the pacing at times isn't great and stuff like that. And the actor, again, it's this like casting of Sinbad, but this was a problem in Hollywood in that time anyway. You know, you don't think Sinbad the sailor, blue-eyed white guy with a bit of a tan.
No, you don't.
But apparently Hollywood does, and
yeah.
I think in The Golden Voyage is more memorable. Again, it all comes down to what Harryhausen's doing in these movies. You know,
yeah.
The rest is all, as we mentioned, enjoyable in that ironic way. But the Kali fight in that is spectacular, where a statue with multiple arms starts fighting Sinbad and his
I remember
friends.
that. So which one is that? That's the seventh
That's
voyage?
the Golden Voyage. The seventh voyage is actually
Voyage.
it would have been the earliest of these movies. It's 1958, and it's again, it has its moments. There's Cyclops and stuff in it, and there is impressive scenes, but it's even more of that kind of like, I am a hero.
Aha, I am the hero that you identify because America.
Yes, but it's weird. Like the guy, I thought it was the actor who was Pony Sucre in Darby O'Gill, but it's not. It's someone who looks.
He's
similar.
a legitimately good actor, though. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, the acting in both these movies, from the Sinbad character, because it's recast in all of them, is a lot better than Patrick Wayne. Who
he's really. I mean, I don't know if I can overstate how bad he is. He just stands there with his hands on his hips, grinning, and then just says the line.
Yeah.
And looks off into the distance, and you're like, "There's what are we supposed to be feeling here right now?" And like his like inflection on specific words is so off. So you're like, does he know? Did he read the rest of the? Does he know what's happening in this scene or not? Because it seems like he's like in another dimension or something, like in a different place. He's not experiencing what's happening to everybody else right now.
It's like terrible things happen. He just sit there grinning like a fucking idiot.
Don't worry, we'll be fine. Can we get another read on that? No, okay, right. Moving on.
I should also mention as well that there's another Doctor Who in the Golden Voyage.
Is there?
Tom Baker is he's like the evil wizard guy who's
cool.
really suspicious, and it's again, they've just slapped a bit of like brown or like fake tan on him and like put a turban on him and went, there you go, that's you sorted. It does have those problems still, but he's kind of hilarious because he's so he's so arch in it that
I mean, like, if you don't get Tom Baker for him to be subtle,
no.
you know, you get him for the same reason you get someone like Brian Blessed.
Yeah,
you want him to stand there and orate and basically shout every line with force and enthusiasm.
Exactly.
Yeah. I kind of wish I'd watched those ones as well now. I think that would have given me a nicer context and also better actors to talk about.
I would say Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger is the second best Sinbad movie out of these ones. But
so you're gonna say Golden Voyage you think is the best Sinbad movie?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I would go for that one.
Because I've definitely seen it. It's another one of those ones I saw as a child.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember it. Like, I remember that Kali statue thing is in my head.
Yeah.
I know I've seen that. With all the different like weapons in its hands and stuff.
It's the standout moment, especially like it's always these ones that you can appreciate now from the technical aspect of there's so many moving parts. You're like, that must have took him forever to do. But as a kid, it's just like, there's so many moving parts. This is awesome. This is
That's
like,
so cool.
That statue's fighting 4 people and it's winning. You know, like, things like that. You know, it stokes the imagination, and I can't help but love it for that. You know that. Yeah, as a kid, like, this was very formative, and probably fed into why we both kind of did have like a love for folklore and mythologies and things like that. You know, we both read a lot of them as kids, and I'm sure these movies helped stoke that because
I had a lot of books on like Greek myths and stuff that were like truncated versions of them for kids.
So your stupid child brain would understand.
Yeah, so my stupid child brain, and they cut out most of the decapitations.
Cut out most of the rape, probably, because Zeus was pretty, you know.
It's pretty fucking rife. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. So Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Once again, it's one of those ones where the Harryhausen aspect of it is still fucking spot on. There's other shit, like the production design and all that stuff's great. I love the stupid boat that the witch has. Yeah. Pointy brass boat. It seems so impractical and daft, but it looks good. It looks like something from like an old like Jerry Anderson puppet TV show, you know, like friggin' Stingray or something like that. But like less futuristic. It's like medieval or like pre-medieval Stingray, which I love. I like the design of all of his creatures in it. A lot of pink costumes in this movie as well, which I also liked. Yeah, it was a lot of garish colors. I think they were really like loving the Technicolor or whatever, and being like, right, let's make this as colorful as possible because it's supposed to be like the Middle East, and all that stuff. So go, and it's just the set pieces are lovely. Like the set design's incredible. Like it really looks amazing. It does. But again, if you're gonna rate these 3 movies, this one's don't spoilers for the next one, but this is probably. Of these 3, this is probably the least good, and I think it's specifically because of all the other non-Harryhausen things. Yeah. Drag it down. Also, it's the only one that doesn't have a pantheon of Greek gods overseeing the whole thing and being dicks about it and interfering. Yeah. But it's still... I still had a big dumb smile on my face the whole way through it. Especially when monsters came up.
I really think you should watch The Golden Voyage this weekend. You should just go and do it because it's. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. Actually, I've one more question about because I can't remember what this scene is in.
You get the muddle of in your head.
Is it in this one? Is it Eye of the Tiger that has the ship's mast or what do you call the figurehead? The ship figurehead. Does it come to life in this one? Like, does it break off and start attacking them?
Nope.
Yeah, go. You need to watch The Golden Voyage. That is an incredible scene. There's actually, there's a griffin fighting a centaur and everything. The Golden Voyage has a lot more going on. Yeah.
Sold. Golden Voyage. Definitely. Okay, right. So, to sum this movie up, you can watch it, but maybe watch The Golden Voyage of Sinbad instead, or as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm going to do. Well, John, here we are again on the beach. I don't even like the beach.
No.
Why do we spend so much time on beaches in this show?
I don't know. Sand.
Ugh.
I hate sand. It's coarse. And
It gets everywhere. Sometimes, and it's like it's right next to the sea, and the sea is horrible. It's full of things. John, it's full of terrible, awful, awful things. Anything could be down there. There could be a giant portcullis under this island containing a giant creature that wants to wreak havoc and destroy us. And this is the most laboured segue ever.
I think that's a bit of a stretch.
Into Jason and the Argonauts,
yes.
which has the Kraken in it that I'm referencing. So, John, Jason
Kraken.
and the Argonauts, let's read the extremely short log line for this one as well. The legendary Greek hero, not Jason and the Argonauts, it's Clash of the Titans. Man, I am getting muddled in my brain.
I was just going with it. It's like, sweet, we'll talk about Jason.
Jason again. Let's talk about. No, this has the shortest log line. Clash of the Titans. Good lord.
It's barely even a sentence.
So, Clash of the Titans from 1981, John. Ooh. Perseus must battle Medusa and the Kraken to save the Princess Andromeda. The end.
That's
right.
It.
Well, that's that one covered then.
That's all you're getting, and you like it.
Yeah. So this is all about Perseus, who's like the son of Zeus. Brother and grandfather to Hercules, who was in our other movie. I know it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird family, that, isn't it?
It's a very weird family.
Aye. So I think whatever it is, because his dad's Zeus, and then Zeus, at some point later in the mythology, has sex with Perseus's daughter. And she is the mother of Hercules. Which makes them.
She would technically also be Zeus's granddaughter. Oh. No,
like so. All it means is I don't think they get married. The gods don't marry people, so we don't have to get into the who's stepmother or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, if Perseus is Zeus's son, which he is, Perseus has a daughter. Yeah, Zeus sleeps with that daughter. Then
it might have been his granddaughter, but it's still.
Oh, that's okay.
It's still fucked. So I think he's like Perseus is. Perseus is. I think Perseus is the great grandfather of Hercules, and also the half brother of Hercules.
Now that we've delved deeply into Perseus's genealogy,
so that's Perseus. It's weird. Anyway, that's who he is. So, this movie, very silly movie.
Yeah. Perseus is
pretty great movie. I'm just gonna put my cards on the table here and say I really, really like this one a lot.
Perseus, in this movie anyway, he is a open mouth idiot. He's a mouth breathing fucking numpty. He does
walk around gawping the whole time with his mouth hanging open, like
a fucking idiot. He looks so stupid in this.
Does. He does.
Which is kind of hilarious, but
he looks like a really dumb or maybe just drugged up Jim Morrison. I don't
know. But yeah, again, like the Harryhausen parts in this are fantastic, of course.
Yep.
The issues again are just with the rest of the movie, but as you say, like I enjoy this one as well. I think I prefer Jason and the Argonauts because from the problem I have with this is that Perseus gets handed everything.
He does.
Very like. It's basically as Dago's, and like it's kind of annoying because he gives off to what god does Maggie Smith play?
She's Hera.
I thought
she's Hera.
I thought she was different. Okay.
I think she's Hera. You know what? I'm gonna double check that one because I might be nonsense because she's not Athena.
Yeah.
Athena is no Claire Bloom's Hera. She's Thetis. That's it.
Oh, Thetis, of course.
Or Thetis. I think they call her Thetis.
But
in the film, they refer to her as Thetis.
Yeah. But like Zeus gives off to her about spoiling her son, and then it's like here, make him a shield and make him a sword and just give him all this crap.
Give him a bunch of advantages. But I mean, I think they do address that. She gets pissed off about that.
Yeah.
That she's like, he's getting handed everything and my son is getting nothing. Although her son is a dick.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that well, I think he's a murderer and a rapist.
Yeah,
so,
he kills all
again,
the what do you call the flying horses?
Yeah, they have a name. Pegasus is the specific name of the only surviving one. I don't remember what the name of. Do they just refer to them as flying horses?
No, I think they do. There is definitely there's definitely a name. Like he killed all them apart from Pegasus, and then yeah. But so like there is that element of, you know, I suppose it comes from reading too much Discord that I'm like kind of going, of course you're the fucking hero. Like if I got a magic shield and an invisible helmet, which you lose almost immediately, I think I would do much better in life, you know?
Yeah. I think if I had a magic shield and a magic helmet and a magic sword and Zeus, the fucking king of the gods, was constantly doing me favors and getting all of his other cronies to do me favors, and then whenever I bumble like a boob and friggin' lose one of my magic items, he has somebody else make me a magic fucking owl or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, although that is kind of a good point, I think they do a lot with, like, because Laurence Olivier plays Zeus, and I think he plays him really well.
Yeah,
he's such a dick.
He's so arrogant and like just doesn't listen to anyone else, and exactly the way the gods should be. Yeah,
and I think it's Hera. I think that he says, "Oh, sure, just give him your oil," and she's like, "What? Fuck off!" And so she just out of like she still kind of does what she's told, but she makes this really daft clockwork oil.
Because Athena always had an oil. Yeah.
I don't remember. Oh my god, we're so bad at this.
Yeah.
Whichever one has the oil.
It's always Athena.
Yeah.
It's always Athena.
But it does feel like, I don't know if that's in the mythology, but it is a fun sort of like, oh, here's a chance for Ray Harryhausen to make another weird thing.
I did
this clockwork oil thing.
What I
really
don't
cool.
like about that is I found out, I suppose it's like, you know, the influences kind of coming full circle almost, where the only reason they added that mechanical oil thing, or the clockwork oil, was because they seen how well received R2D2 was in Star Wars, because this one is 81
the noises.
Yeah, because this is this is the first Harryhausen movie that had toys made for it. I think, or I read that somewhere. So like this one was definitely one that was a bit more marketed towards like, look at the funny owl, and look at the Pegasus toy with the you press the button and the wings flap. Maybe
can you get a Medusa?
That would be awesome.
I would like one of those, please, John. Can I have one?
Medusa is awesome in this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead now and just say that I think Medusa is my favorite Ray Harryhausen thing.
Yeah. Okay.
The Medusa in this movie is so cool looking.
Yeah.
Just in the basic design of it, looks great.
Yeah.
It's frightening. The way it moves is frightening. I just love those little, like, every now and then you just get a little shot in the dark of the tail rattling. That shit, again, when I was a kid, scared the fucking shit out of me. But it was one of those ones where you're scared, but you're just watching it. I guess it's maybe like a sign of things to come. Where I was watching this movie, being terrified, but I couldn't stop watching it. And I was like, "This is so cool."
It's very tense. It's like
Medusa. That whole scene is so bright. It's so scary.
Like even now, and you kind of, again, we know that she is claymation. We know this, and it still works very well. It's all. And as you mentioned, like I love the design, or the artistic choice of like having her whole bottom half being like a snake as well, a rattlesnake at that. So like he could have this like little rattle bit that kept closing up on, and it's like, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah, it gives you the fucking creeps because you're like, it's in the fucking dark and it's slinking around, you know.
It's sneaky. It has it's an archer as well.
Yeah, it's like because it's a person. She was a person who was cursed.
Yeah.
And turned into this, and she's angry and she's fucked off
As
with
you would
everybody, as you justifiably would be. Like, there's something just really cool about when they get to that island. I mean, if you try and put yourself in the place of as if you haven't seen it before or whatever, you know, and be like, there's something really cool and tense about the whole build up to that scene.
Yeah.
Where they get there and there's all these ostensibly statues everywhere, and they're like, oh, weird.
Yeah.
What's this all about? And you watch it and they get deeper and deeper, and you see them all, and like this one who's like leaning over a thing with like this horrified expression on his face, and Perseus like stands next to it and puts his hand on it, and it just collapses.
Yeah.
It just crumbles. You're like, oh, it's horrible. And then like they get attacked. I don't know, I feel like there's an unnecessary sort of attacked by a two-headed dog fight there that seems excessive when you've already got you're about to contend with fucking Medusa.
Yeah,
but I think they
real
just had
Dark
to narrow
Souls moment,
down.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real like, oh, here's the boss, and then someone comes out of a doorway and just stabs you with a tiny knife and kills you. Yeah, all right, okay, sweet. But once you get in there and you have that bit with Medusa, like, I think it was that sort of a we need more deaths.
Yeah.
We've got too many people with Perseus right now. We need to thin out the herd a little so that he's the only, because I think the idea, you know, of him being the sole survivor of the mission is maybe an important part of the myth.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So they have to get down they have to have all these people, but then all these creatures to kill all the people.
Yeah.
And like, I think a lot of the fucking animation in this I fucking love. I love the what do you call Thetis' son?
Oh, Calibos?
Calibos. He's class.
Yeah.
Fucking, I love as well. It's not necessarily a Harryhausen thing. I don't know if he was involved in the actual production design of the movie in general, but the three witches who share the eye.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Again, it's another one of those things that when I was a kid scared the fuck out of me. The three of them, they really scared me. Now this time I realized they were playing it a wee bit for laughs. There's like they've got the pot. They're talking about them like eating people, and they're stirring the pot of stew, and a hand comes out of the stew, and she just sort of gently pushes it back in. Like he's like, and that was kind of funny and goofy. But when I was a kid, that scared the shit out of me because I was like, oh my god, they're eating people.
Yeah.
You know? And the whole thing with the eye, I remember being fascinated by the fact that they shared one eye.
Yeah. Yeah. It's...
You know, the Stygian witches, and they're all blind. They've no eyes. Like, they don't, it's not that they're blind, it's they have no eyes.
Yeah, it's like the skin's grown over it.
Yeah.
Or
like,
not that it's grown up, but it's just like that.
Like,
there was
like
never eyes.
They never had eyes, and they share this one eye. It makes them eminently defeatable.
Oh yeah.
But it's a really cool thing, you know. The idea that anyone would be caught by them. I think maybe that's what makes them scary. Is that I was like, what is it that they can do?
See, they never get
them
close enough because he gets his oil. He gets Bebo or whatever you call it to like fly.
Bebo D2.
Yeah, Bebo D2. To steal the eye, and
yeah,
you know, it would have been. I think if you were to, they have remade this movie, but I didn't go see it.
No.
I just know Liam Neeson is Zeus in it.
Okay.
And he comes out and goes, "What's the crack?"
Does he?
Yep.
What's the cracker, lad? Here, give my son gifts.
No, don't be. No, it's release the Kraken. What's the crack?
What's the cracking, Poseidon? You. What's cracking? You.
But like that, I would imagine if you were going to do this, you would try and show what the Stygian witches do, or like how they, if they get close enough, maybe they are really, you know, formidable opponents. And
yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. He keeps his distance.
Yeah, they stay
and that
outside
seems
the
important.
Cave. Yeah, and you're like, that's what makes them scary. It's like what would happen?
Yeah.
You know, how did they get that guy in the pot in the first place? And like the place is horrible and it's covered in bones, and like they've been doing this for a while, and like they just seem so like something just really I just find something really unnerving about those three. So I think this movie has my favorite monsters in it.
Yeah,
okay. And especially if I include them. I like the Pegasus stuff as well. It's stupid.
Yeah.
They shoot that really well, where it's clearly most of the time it's just a white horse. It's just a white horse, and they're shooting him, and he's sitting on it, and there's the horse's head, and there's him on the.
Same with Calabos, actually. It's
pretty much
from the waist up. It's the actor guy in makeup, and I think that's incredibly well done. How he
looks great. He's really fucking scary. Again, when I was a kid, this movie, I think of all these movies, this is one that scared me the most.
Yeah.
But also the one I think I watched the most because it scared me the most.
Face your fears. It was very brave of you.
Yeah, I thought it was extremely, extremely good.
You weren't handed everything like Perseus. You had to actually, fight your way through this movie.
Yeah, and like I understand it. Like as you say that, you're right about how the narrative goes and how, Perseus is just being given things, and he's been giving every time there's a problem, he is kind of like, well, you have an out here, don't you? You've always got an out, don't you, Perseus?
It's like the rich kid, my dad'll pay me out.
Don't worry, lads, my dad's paying.
Well, my dad's Zeus, so I can do what I want.
Yeah, he's like the bully from the 80s ski movie. Hi, I'm Perseus.
I'm Perseus.
Yeah, I'm Perseus. Oh, one of those guys. Oh, yeah, they would be called Perseus.
Yeah, probably. And I think Jason, and to contrast it, yes, he's given the 3 favors from Hera, but he uses them fairly swiftly.
Yeah, there's a limit, and he has another. He has I guess Perseus does have gods working against him, and that like Thetis and Athena are kind of pissed off at Zeus.
But it always seems like, they're pissed off, but there's only so much they can do, or Zeus will, they don't want to piss Zeus off that much. Which kind of again gives it sort of a he's gonna be fine. Probably. You never feel. I think it's that coupled with the fact that he has that dumb expression on his face throughout the movie that I couldn't get behind Perseus as much as I can with Jason, where it was like, at least Jason has to think a wee bit, or even stuff like I think one of the most defining moments for Jason is when he frees the old man from the harpies, because that's actually going against the gods' wishes.
Yeah, he defies the gods, and he does it for a good reason. Yeah, he does it to help somebody.
Exactly,
he doesn't have to,
and that's how he gets the idol that summons up Poseidon. Weirdly, but
yeah, he earns that reward.
Exactly. I don't think Perseus ever earns anything. It's like, I really want to fuck that girl, so I'm going to go do this. That's it.
Basically, Perseus' whole thing is like, well, he gets kind of like dicked about a wee bit by Thetis, in that she's like, I'm going to pick him up and I'm going to put him over here. Yeah. But then she puts him right next to friggin' Burgess Meredith, who's just the fountain of all fucking knowledge and is able to explain how the world works to him, like immediately, which he immediately understands. Here's a bunch of gifts. And he goes off to the city and he's like, oh, that princess is class. And then it's like, right. And then he cheats his way through that. He cheats his way through solving the riddle because he like follows. And again, that thing's still the big vulture.
Yes, yeah.
The big vulture that carries the princess away every night to Calabos and back. I fucking love that fucking thing. The noises it makes are fucking horrible. They were hurting my head, but I was still kind of like, this is actually fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, every time I mention something, it's like, yes, I think the monster, I love all of the monsters in this one. I think they're all fucking great. And even like the big scorpions as well, that are just thrown in at the end. They're thrown in. They're just fucked in there at one point.
It's very much
some more
like
animation
that.
budget, Ray.
Yeah, it's
Ray, do you want to do something else? What do you want?
It's like the 2-headed dog thing. It's just like, yeah why not?
Yeah, because there's a very real possibility that they did the 2-headed dog and the scorpion thing after they were done. They were like, got some more money in the animation budget here, Ray. Do you got any ideas? Well, I've got this 2-headed dog I'm working on, and I've got the scorpion over here in the back that I was doing for another movie and then just left it. Oh, fuck, sure, put them in. Okay. Just another 3 weeks work. Okay, do. Off we go. But yeah, I think that's all class. I think it all works really well. I love the animation. Calabos looks cool when they do the zoom outs in Calabos and he's animated. It looks great.
There's some weird editing in it though. The particularly in the swamp area where you have Calabos, like when he realizes someone is invisible when he realizes Perseus is there, and like it kind of like goes to shout, but it edits out before he kind of like screams. It's like right, and then like I mean after that there's a bit where Perseus chops off his hand, and it gets edited, and it's just edited very oddly. But I suppose that's also to be like we can't show someone's hand being severed. It's 81.
Indeed. Yeah, people might get annoyed. Video nasties are about to be a thing, but we want to be in the cinema, please. Yeah. So yeah. But I think ultimately this, to me, this is when I think of Ray Harryhausen, I think of this film. Yeah. Mostly. It's the creatures in this film. It's Medusa is so cool, and the Kraken looks fucking sweet as well.
The Kraken's
awesome. It's a big dumb, like, it kind of looks a wee bit like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
It seems to be kind of based on that sort of type of fishman. But it looks sweet, and the effects, as it were, when it turns to stone is pretty cool. Yeah. When anyone turns, like, there's some dudes get turned to stone in this as well when they look at Medusa, and that looks fucking great.
Yeah.
You know, and it's part of that suspension of disbelief where it looks a bit silly, but even though it looks silly, it also looks good.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this. And that's what I like about Ray Harryhausen, I think, is that you can look at it and you go, that's stop motion, but you can also look at it and say, I don't care that it's stop motion. It's just fucking sweet.
Again, I think he put it best himself when he said it's not meant to look real. It's meant to look like a weird dream or nightmare. You know?
Yeah, because these aren't real creatures. They're like these mythological monsters that are the product of the gods.
Exactly.
They're like children of the gods that have become corrupted or cursed by the gods, or it's always the gods doing something to people.
I kind of like that in both Jason and this movie, the gods are portrayed as kind of
they're dicks.
Yeah,
they're dicks.
They're narcissistic. They're you know, like all these negative qualities that you would associate with people. Like that's the gods, and that's the way the Greek gods are. So
yeah, like Laurence Olivier's portrayal is very much booming and arrogant, but the character of Zeus in Jason and the Argonauts is almost like apathetic, and he almost seems like he just can't be bothered. He can only be bothered a little bit, and he's like, he does that a lot. Does Zeus in Jason and the Argonauts? He's like, I suppose. Whereas Laurence Olivier, Zeus is like, no. He is my son! He will be victorious! And everyone else is like, Jesus Christ, not this again. Yeah. So, yeah. I really like this film a lot. I really like the monsters. I think that's the thing about this film that really sticks with me is the individual beasts in this film are the ones that I remember so fondly. And yes, there were frightening things in Jason and the Argonauts, and I was always kind of intimidated a wee bit by the Minotaur, even though he doesn't really do very much to anybody.
He doesn't get to do anything.
He doesn't really get to do very much except row the goddamn boat and lift things. But he was always kind of like, he always seemed a bit like potentially a nightmare.
Chekhov's Minotaur.
Chekhov's Minotaur that never gets used, which is, it's kind of a mistake. Again, another little point against Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger there, I think. But yeah, Clash of the Titans is appropriately named in a way. There's not a lot of actual...
And kind of not appropriately named as well, because there are no Titans. There's no Greek Titans in this movie.
There aren't any Titans, are there, John?
Because the Kraken is actually a Norse mythology, and Medusa was never a Titan. She was a...
no, Medusa is a... Oh god, I know this. I'm not looking anything up. My hands are at my in front. She is a Gorgonite.
That's it.
She was a Gorgon or a Gorgonite.
I can tell everyone that yes, Kevin did actually raise his hands in the air.
Like a fucking goofball child. I'm not doing nothing. Sure, it was like that. I was already here. It was already like that.
I wasn't cheating.
She's a Gorgon. I believe she's one of the Gorgons.
Yeah.
All the sort of monsters are the Gorgons, and they're pretty sweet. Yeah, so I'm just going to say I really like this movie.
Yeah.
And that might be spoilers for the next part that we're getting into. But let's move swiftly on. Right, well, we've moved inland from the beach to the ancient temple. Turns out that was a bad idea because that's apparently where the skeletons hang out. But that's okay, John, because sure, didn't we learn how to defeat them? Probably, maybe, I don't know. But before they come over here and cut our throats and cut our heads off, we have to have a short discussion, John.
Of course.
We have to have a discussion
Best
about
time
your
for
behavior.
it is when
I've got a HR representative here, John, to discuss a problem, John.
Oh.
And the problem is, John, that I want to know which of these you thought was the best movie. And I want to make sure that there's no funny business. Aw.
I'm not telling you. And, oh, no, I have to. HR's here.
Will I get rid of HR? Do you want HR to leave the room? No. It's just writing everything down.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm torn between Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans because as much as I definitely agree with you, the Harryhausen nature of Clash of the Titans is probably the most impressive in that one. But I think as a story, Jason and the Argonauts interest me more. Plus, it's not that there's not like a wild difference between them because I still think the likes of Talos and the skeleton fight elevated to.
They are fucking great. Yes,
you know,
they're both
they
great.
are on par. So
yeah.
But I think I would go for Jason and the Argonauts on the basis that I can get behind Jason as a hero.
Yeah,
a lot easier.
It is a more solid narrative.
Yeah.
And Jason as a character is definitely a bit more sympathetic.
They all have, as we mentioned, that like stupid like 2-dimensional like I'm the hero and flawless thing, but at least with Jason there is the hero struggle more than just
a little
the rich kid getting handed things by his daddy.
Yeah, and then being like, yeah, but I wanted to marry the princess. Yeah. Whereas Jason's like, I'm going to marry the princess, but I have to prove myself and all this other stuff. Off on an adventure.
Something about a fleece.
But it wasn't him all that he wants to be the king, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because he's like, that's my birthright.
I know, yeah, there's a lot of that
he's
crap,
like,
which is nonsense.
It's almost like he's like, I should be privileged, but I'm not. Damn it. I was supposed to be.
All I had was 3 wishes from a goddess.
All I had was 3 wishes from a goddess, and then 1 extra one from fucking Poseidon, apparently, as well, that we kept in my back pocket.
So maybe Sinbad should win. He had none of this stuff. He's just the greatest sailor, and he probably worked at that. I kind of like the fact that the villains couldn't catch up to him because it kind of that's Sinbad's only thing is that he's the greatest sailor. So like if they caught up to him, it would have been like, "The fuck are you?"
Yeah, how did a robot rowing catch up to you in your sailing ship? Yeah, that would have been a bit weird. Yeah, they did have to cheat and try to get around it with tricks the whole time. So I guess ultimately Sinbad is
Sinbad's the greatest hero.
It's more believable, I was going to say there. But like, nah, it's fucking none of it's nonsense.
I think while you say that, you should look at a picture of Patrick Wayne while you're saying Sinbad is the most believable.
I don't think he's the most believable character. I'm just saying that the narrative, as far as the structure of the narrative and the fact that, you know, it's the old Deus Ex Machina problem, you know, which is writ large in Clash of the Titans and Jason and the Argonauts. It's literally God from the machine. It's literally gods going yoink. Like, you literally, like, Hera and friggin' Zeus in Jason and the Argonauts are literally moving them around like pieces in a board game, which is, you know, also, like, parodied wonderfully again by Terry Pratchett, you know, in many of his books, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I kind of like Jason the Argonauts for that, because it reminds me of that stuff.
Yeah,
You know, in
yeah,
a way.
there's a lot of that. Like they
Yeah.
have that scene that the Terry Pratchett does in Color of Magic, where the goddess lifts Rincewind up, and he's in her hand. That is straight up lifted from Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, was talking to him. Yeah, and it's like, they literally take him and they put him on the table, and he's standing looking up at them, and this like, and Jason the Argonauts going, "All right, what's going on?"
But of course, it's funnier when Terry Pratchett does it, because Rincewind's all like,
he's like, "What's going
I'm so
on
hard
now?"
done by.
Yeah, can you just leave me alone, please? Yeah. Whereas Jason's like, "Oh my God, it's the gods! I need favors. Yes,
yes."
Whereas Rincewind's like, "I just want to go back to work in the library. Leave me alone."
And in both, I do like the message, albeit like I know it's kind of probably twisted in a way that they're kind of referring to the Christian God, but that in Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans, they're like, there may be a time where the gods are not needed and stuff like this. You know, I think in both they kind of said, and like, yeah, there might be in some way referring to that, like Christianity will come out, but I kind of prefer to, as an atheist, I prefer to look at it as, we don't need these children's stories, but
Indeed,
they are damn fun.
No, but yeah, it's hard to it is hard to pick, but at the same time, I feel like I do like Clash of the Titans more.
Yeah. I can understand
I
that.
love the monsters. It's like, it's more of a horror film than the other two in a way.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah,
I
it
think
trucks a lot more in scary monsters and scary places.
Yeah.
You know, like the swamp that Calabas lives in is a scary place, and they go to this creepy island in the middle of fucking nowhere, where Medusa's hanging out, and
the set design's a lot more impressive, and it definitely and I
that
think
might come from just being like, it's 1981. You know, it's like the last of these movies.
Yes,
you know,
that's the last
one.
Harryhausen movie that he did. He kind of like almost cynically kind of realized that, you know, this dynamation that he called it had kind of reached its final point, you know, that people were kind of going off it at that stage. But unfortunately as well, I was saying to my wife, I would love a video game done in this style where like
that looks like that.
I think it would be awesome. But it would be so niche. Really cool. I think only me and you would get it.
Yeah, I'd definitely play it. But yeah, would anybody else?
Yeah, that's.
I don't know. I just like that, like, the idea of like having like a 60 frames per second game running really fast, but all of the character animation is like 12 frames a second. Like that. There's something weirdly appealing about that. I think about it.
Or even if just the enemies are like that and they all look claymation, they all look like the Harrows and stuff. But like I would imagine the Clash of the Titans, I think, serves your sensibilities a lot more. I can see why you would pick that. Like, it leans more into the horror stuff. Yeah,
like Medusa alone, like Calabas is scary. Caliban's a Marvel guy. The Calabas is a scary dude who's a horrible guy, and like all that stuff. I mean, there are horrifying things in the others. I mean, Jason the Argonauts has the harpies, and they're frightening, but you know,
and Talos is frightening just for the scale of him.
Talos is a scary monster that wants to stomp on people and does. And that's great. But then like, and I think it's like even like the witches in Clash of the Titans are just, they really creep me out. They're so creepy. They're so goddamn creepy, and they're so good. So I think it should be obvious that I really like Clash of the Titans a lot. Which is the reason why I haven't watched the newer one, because I feel like it's just gonna be a CG mess, probably.
Like the clips that I've seen of it, I wasn't impressed. You know, I would be all for, like, I like these Greek myths, and but there's so many of them. I don't know why they want to retread on one that isn't even really the proper Perseus story. You know, they kind of mix things up and change it because Harryhausen wanted to add in the likes of the scorpions and the
cool
two-headed
scorpions
dogs,
and two-headed dogs. It's just because I thought of an idea to make one of these and it looks cool. Let's go.
Because he was always very involved because when you say special effects, it's not like today where they're so talented at what they do, but you have someone who's like focused on maybe the eyebrow of a character, things like that, where you've got these massive teams and it takes so long. Harryhausen was involved in the story before it even was given to a director a lot of times, and he was involved in the filmmaking, like only the scenes that he was going to have to do the special effects for. But some directors actually were annoyed that he was there and that he was like hanging about and like giving directions to the actors about like there's a skeleton to your left that you need to block against. Like some directors didn't like this because it's like that's my territory kind of thing, which is like going, well, like fuck off because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, like this guy, like, I mean, you look at the end result, and you can see that was the right thing to do.
Exactly.
You could just look at that skeleton fight and just be like, it's a good thing that he's there saying, it's a skeleton to your left, right now you're gonna want to do this, you're gonna fall over and kick, stuff like that. And you're like, right, and then you look at the end result, and you're like, that looks fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Look at how those guys are fighting skeletons.
Yeah,
that's happening.
Sometimes when it doesn't work, it's not. It's when you kind of look at what the scene would be, how it would have been given to Ray Harryhausen. You're kind of sitting there going, "Yeah, there's not much he could do with that because that guy's literally just flailing about like an idiot, and like you can't make that look real." They have to, and not to have a go at the actors because this is all very new. They hadn't.
Oh yeah.
Nowadays there's a lot. They understand it a lot more. They have things that people can look at. They can also
the tennis ball on a string.
Yeah, the tennis ball on a string for eye line and things like that. And even with like besides that, you can literally have a man standing there and just remove him with CGI. It's a not to say it's a lot easier, but it's a lot. It's the technology affords you a lot more options, I would say.
So it's really funny when you see like the pre-effect shots of Star Wars Episode 1 and you've got the guy who's friggin' Jar Jar Binks standing there with the hat on his head with the bit of Jar Jar head on his head, and it looks so fucking stupid.
It should have kept it like that. At least that.
It was just some guy wearing a weird hat and talking like that. Yeah,
because then you would have understood, right? Oh, that guy has like a severe mental problem, and that's why he talks like that.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be played for laughs, but they did it anyway because nice one, George. But we're not going to sit there and complain about Star Wars Episode 1 because that feels pointless at this stage. Yeah. Everybody knows it's bad, and the people who say it's good are liars.
Exactly.
But people who are like, oh, I love it. Like I think we kids really like that. But I feel like when you get to a certain age, you should get to the point where you're like, no, Empire Strikes Back. That's Star Wars. Like, that's Star Wars, not capering, flailing goofball and CG Jawas, but oh god, that's a whole other grumpy old man argument.
They should have just left it. Maybe we'll watch Star Wars at some point. I don't know.
Maybe we'll watch a Star Wars.
A Star War.
Maybe we'll take in a Star War at some point. But John, okay, so we're definitely sort of you're Jason and the Argonauts. I'm definitely going with Clash of the Titans.
And special mention goes to the Golden Voyage because
which was not one of our movies, but it's in my memory. All the things you've mentioned about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that being cool.
It has a lot of the similar problems that Eye of the Tiger has, but I think it all boils down to what Harryhausen's doing, and I think in the Golden Voyage he has more interesting things happening, like the Kali statue and the ship figurehead when it comes to life. They are frightening. I think it feeds into your sensibilities a lot as well. Like the figurehead is frightening and it looks incredible. So I think you should give it a go as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed at myself. I didn't go and watch all the Sinbads like you did.
Yeah. Well, the
John,
Seventh Voyage is kind of,
avoid that one,
bit,
maybe.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
It has its moments, but it's a bit slow, and it's like all the bad qualities are magnified, I would say.
Okay, fair enough. Well, John, all that aside, now we know which one's the best movie. Movies rather. You know what? They're all kind of great. I'm just gonna say they're all actually kind of great. Sinbad was still kind of fun. It still had a lot of cool stuff in it, and I still had a great time watching it.
I think if you go in with the right attitude and I think if you're going to bounce off any of them, you'll bounce off all of them, kind of thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that's true. But John, which of these movies gives us the best sort of action plan for getting away from, defeating, or surviving an encounter with a dynamated creature?
Flailing around seems to help in some cases, but not all of them.
I think we're both really, really good at flailing around. Right up until the point where we accidentally hurt ourselves.
Yeah, and like we don't need anything there to flail around too. We've flailed around for much less.
Yeah, we've as far as I can tell, what we should do is we should flail around, refuse to fall over. So then whenever Ray comes in later to put in the creatures, he can't have them kill us because we never fell over, John.
Yeah, well that's it. Yeah.
We just kept flailing and flailing and flailing.
Yep.
All right, that seems to be the solution.
I just imagine he animates the skeletons just like getting bored and just going,
standing at the side, just a skeleton just sort of leaning against the wall with their arms folded, just like
while we're still flailing,
chatting away to each other, just like they still fucking going over there.
We skeleton with a cigarette going. What is wrong with those two?
Yeah, it's like, did anybody bring lunch? And then they all go down to friggin', I don't know, Wimpy's or whatever. Did Wimpy still exist?
I don't know.
Did they ever? I remember seeing the symbol for it, but I was never in one.
You know what? Ray Harryhausen can animate one. It's fine.
Yeah, he could build us. He could do us a dynamated Wimpy's with the dynamated Mr. Wimpy guy from Popeye. I would gladly pay you Tuesday. That's the guy, right?
Yeah.
That's the Wimpy from Popeye. Anyway, yes, flailing as has been the sort of solution in our lives in general up to now, John. Flailing around until everything just sort of works out is probably the best thing to do. Thank you, Sinbad, Jason, and Perseus, and all the other lads. Jane Seymour, Maggie Smith, Laurence Olivier, all them other people. Burgess Meredith.
That's right.
As well. Yeah. That was his advice to Perseus. Just flail around, Rock. Remember? That's what he told Rocky to do in that movie.
You might be
just flail around until they let you stop. That's how Rocky defeated Apollo Creed. Oh. Movie magic, John. Movie magic. Wonderful. All right, well, begin the flailing. We are on Twitter. We are at 7 Day Apocalypse. That's at numeral 7 Day Apocalypse. You can email us on filmcast at thisweeksapocalypse.com. You wouldn't think it's been 2 weeks, John. I can't hack this 2 week thing anymore. I'm forgetting everything.
We'll have to go back to a week.
Filmcast at thisweeksapocalypse.com. That's filmcast at thisweeksapocalypse.com. We also have a YouTube channel. We started doing a sort of a video game, adventure game, point and click playthroughs. Yay!
Specifically Discworld, because
specifically we always go on about Discworld. It came up again today. So yes, we're doing a playthrough of the Terry Pratchett's Discworld from 1996. So that's fun. We're going to see if John can just remember his way through all the puzzles and not really figure them out. We haven't turned to a guide yet, so hopefully that will never happen, but you never know. But like somewhere towards the end of Act 2 we might get really fucking stuck, but we'll find out. Okay, so commence to flailing!